Good morning, and welcome to the International Mastermind Think and Grow Rich Show. My name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist, and I am so excited to be with you today. I've missed you. I've been away for a couple of weeks, but I am back as we have this conversation about the power of the subconscious mind. And I just want to share a little bit about something in this chapter that I think is really at the core. It's actually kind of hitting me differently today than it has in the past. And the text says that the subconscious mind is more susceptible to influence by impulses of thought mixed with feeling or emotion than by those originating solely in the reasoning portion of the mind. In fact, there is much evidence to support the theory that only emotionalized thoughts have any action influence upon the subconscious mind. So we're going to be talking about how the importance of the subconscious mind, but how you can influence the subconscious mind. And like Napoleon Hill says, it has to have you have to give it direction, but it has to be emotionalized. So I know many of us have affirmations. Many of us have things that we recite or mantras, but if we're just reciting them as rote, it's not having the impact that we think or would like for it to have. We have to be able to pair it with emotion. So that's going to be today's conversation. I'm going to be having this as part of a masterclass conversation with Miss Ann McNeil. So Ann, I'd love to have you come on in and say hello to everyone. Come on in.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Yes, Ann McNeil, the Master Wealth Builder. And I'm excited to be here. Excited Galen's back also. But we're talking about the subconscious mind. One of the quotes that come up for me is something from Joseph Murphy in his book, The Subconscious Mind. He says, a man is what he thinks about all day long. And when you think about what you're thinking about, if you stop and think about what are you really thinking about, you will find that whatever is in your subconscious mind, it is connecting to whatever it is you're doing and whatever it is you're thinking. And so think about the fact that sometimes you wake up and you have a song that you're singing, and all of a sudden you wonder, where did that song come from? Or maybe it's a thought that you're thinking, and then you say, where'd that thought come from? Oftentimes we don't think about where those thoughts and those vibrations are coming from. And so what we want to talk about today with all of you is let's just explore this power, as Galen has said, about the power of your subconscious mind. Because remember now, Napoleon Hill tells us that it is really like a field of consciousness. But oftentimes, are we conscious of that field of consciousness? Because if we are, then we will realize that every single impulse, not some, but every single impulse of thought that you're thinking, it is really connected to your five senses. And so when we stop and think about today, many of you are coming on, and Miss Roberts was going to be here today. We're going to reschedule her, but we want to have you participate with us and really stop for a moment and just think. That's it. Just stop for a moment and just think. But when you stop and think about why you're thinking those thoughts. So why are you singing that song? And so as we're preparing for the podcast, Gayla and I are talking about the power of your subconscious mind when we are induced by advertising, and the power that advertising has over us is like is planting files, if you will. Napoleon Hill calls it sense impressions or thoughts or hunches. I like to call it a hunch, a feeling that I get, a connecting of the spirit, whatever you call it. You can voluntarily or involuntarily allow those thoughts to be planted in your own mind, or you can choose to consciously plant them by affirmations, by visualization, such as a vision board and those kind of things. So, Galen, I could really do this podcast all by myself because my mind is working all day and night and it never stops.
Well, and I tell you, I think that that's consistent with this philosophy, right? This Think and Grow Rich philosophy, and how everything is connected. And once you start seeing how everything is connected, then you start seeing how this thing is interwoven into every aspect of life. So, as we get into this conversation about the power of the subconscious mind, I'd love for you to watch this video. And as you watch this video, start thinking about where does the subconscious mind fit into this philosophy? What step comes right before it? What step comes right after it? Because the author even says that these principles become more powerful once you've mastered all the other steps. So take a listen to this video, and we'll continue this conversation on the power of the subconscious mind.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the wild, wild west days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
And there you have it. You have all 12 principles there, and they all really kind of stack on top of each other with the desire of getting to this point where you're using your sixth sense to receive information from the infinite, or from God, or however you want to label that source of information. But today we're talking about the power of the subconscious mind. And Ms. Ann, I want to bring you back on, because one of the themes that I've noticed that kind of run through a lot of these principles. And I want to ask you about this because you were talking about commercials and advertisers, and I spent 22 years working for one of the biggest advertisers in the world, and that is the emotion. And every time you see a commercial on television, there's always some sort of emotion. They're either, trying to make you cry, trying to make you laugh, trying to make you reminisce. And there's always some emotion. As I think back to some of my memories and some of the things that I can't shake, there's always emotion attached to those memories, whether it was sad because something didn't work out, or whether it was a tea party with my daughter. There's emotion attached to it. And then in the text, it says that only suggestions that are paired with emotion has an opportunity to impact the subconscious mind. So my question to you is, it seems like emotion is really, really important to making this thing work. How do you use the emotion? How do you use emotion when you start trying to influence your subconscious mind? Because someone who's been doing this for over 40 years, it would be easy and tempting to just do this by rote, right? How do you maintain the emotion in your efforts to influence your subconscious mind?
Well, Galen, I always take everything back to desire. Desire. And for all of us, when you think about the power of the subconscious mind and how it connects to feelings and emotions, it goes back to what is it that you desire. And the author would tell us that a weak desire would create weak results. A strong desire creates strong results. And so for myself, I got to a point in this philosophy or in this journey where it took years to begin to really hit my desire, hit my goals. And then I did not realize the power of resetting those goals. That's why when we think about the vision boards, the affirmation, those pictures creates an emotion. They're your pictures. You put those pictures up there, Ann McNeil, Galen, Renette, Gordon, and everybody else that's listening, Diane, and all of our online guests that are listening in. And so to go to your question, Galen, for me, I continue to reset the vision. I continue to reset the goal. I continue to put fire up underneath myself every single day with my own date with myself, where I am revisiting, if you will, revising, okay, the vision, looking at it, listening to it, reciting it, because I, just like everybody else, we're all going to be motivated or demotivated by all of these external environmental advertising and emotions and feelings. People tell you, oh, you don't look too good today. Now you left home feeling really, really, really good. And then somebody says they plant that seed. Doesn't have to be true. But all of a sudden it germinates and then it grows, and you water it by saying, I don't really feel that good. Wait a minute now, Galen, you felt good earlier. So to me, these are the emotions that impact our end result, if you will. And it's not like a big thing. It's just moment by moment by moment. And as we allow these little things, whether they're commercials or whether it's something that you read or something that you heard, think about when you go to church and you hear your favorite song. Galen, you're singing that song all day. The next day, in your spirit, that song is still there. That verse is still there. And so those are just how I, Galen, moment to moment, day by day, in all of the different businesses that I'm involved in, how I light that fire for myself by intentionally programming my subconscious mind every single morning. Yes, Galen, 365. Because if I don't do that, it's like taking a bath. I will have stinking thinking all day long.
Wow, wow. Another thing that you bring to mind is some work that I read by Lisa Feldman Barrett, and she's written several books, but one of the books that she wrote is How Emotions Are Made. Because a lot of times we think that we just get an emotion. An emotion just comes to us, and what she suggests is that there is a physical experience that we have. So we have a physical experience first, and then we create the emotion by trying to make sense of the physical experience. And we say, I coughed. The reason I coughed must be because I'm sick. So we're creating this emotion in our mind. And what that's telling me, another thing that she says is the only difference between, here's an example, the only difference between excitement and fear, because they both present the exact same way, right? We have the exact same physical experience. Our heart rate increases, we get shortness of breath or whatever the case is. Same physical experience between excitement and fear. The only difference between the two is the story that we tell ourselves about what's on the other side of this activity. And that will determine whether we are afraid or whether we are excited. So we have the ability to create and name and label these physical experiences that we have. And I want to go back to what Shad Guru said. If we have the ability to name these emotions, why would we ever give anything a negative meaning? We control this. So, as you know, back to what you were saying, Ms. Han, why would we allow someone else to define this physical experience that we're having? We have control over that. And that's the only thing that will influence our subconscious mind. Advertisers know that. And that's why every commercial has, like, my favorite song from growing up when I was a kid, or they've got a sad puppy dog. They don't have cats because that cats don't speak to me the same way dogs do. It's always a puppy dog. They're trying to evoke an emotion because that's what drives action. So again, just the importance of making sure that we're not just thinking about these things, but we're actually attaching emotion to what we want to what we want to accomplish. Back to what you were saying about consistent with our desire.
Wow.
So
Wow.
any thoughts, Ms. Ann, about this idea that we create the emotion by naming it, that it's a physical experience that we're having first, and then we define what we think that full experience is about, and based upon that, that's what creates the emotion.
Well, absolutely. Let's just go back to what the author shares about uh, the the question that you're asking. And he tells us, Napoleon Hill says that you can voluntarily plant in your subconscious mind any plan, thought, or purpose which you desire to translate into its physical monetary equivalent. Now, the subconscious mind acts first. That's first on that dominating desire. That's how it acts first. And that's what I talked about when you asked me the question. He said that it acts first on your desire, but then these desires are mixed with emotional feelings such as faith. These are his words. But now, when you consider the fact that, um, go back to the chapter on desire, Galen, and go back to the chapter on autosuggestion, he gives us the answer to your question. Because remember, in desire, he says 6 steps, 6 steps. And then in autosuggestion, he says, here is an example of how you can use the 6 steps to create an affirmation statement. So everything, Galen, going back to your question, because this reminds me of how everything is built on the foundation of what is it that each of you, whoever's listening to Galen and I this morning, what is it that you desire? Is it money? Is it material possession? What is it? Now, how do you program your own subconscious mind to achieve that? Because remember, and we'll keep saying this, your mind does not know the difference between what's true or false. Your mind never stops working. So if your mind does not know the difference between what's true or false, you can tell it whatever it is you want over and over and over again. How do you do that? You do that by creating and executing plans and understanding the power of the plans you create. You're telling the universe, bring to me the best way to achieve this. Bring to me the best way to achieve it. Now, how will the universe bring that to you? By hunches, by desires, by thoughts, by prayers, by words from other people. It may be a sermon, it may be a song. So, Galen, this is such a powerful, 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 powerful principle. I don't think oftentimes we really realize how powerful. And I really would, I always like, Galen, to recommend and encourage different books to read. And one of the best books is Joseph Murphy's book on the subconscious, the power of the subconscious mind. Because when you think about how little things, and I'll just give you one example. Can I share?
Please do.
So I'm an early riser, and I had a job. Well, I have a job now working for myself, but I had a job working for a corporation, major corporation. And I didn't realize I hated that job so badly that I had to be to work at 8 o'clock and I would get up at 7:30. So of course I was always late. And because when you're late, you don't do a good job because now you're trying to catch up all day. And when I started reading this book and realized with the mastermind group, I couldn't do everything I wanted to do. So I started getting up at 7. And the more I did, the more I realized I could do on my job for myself and for my family. So I started getting up at 6:30. And then I started getting up at 6 o'clock. And you get the picture. So I kept getting up earlier and earlier. And I was able to do more and more because I began to focus. Now, this is all subliminal. 2 weeks ago, I was on speaking on a Zoom with the mastermind group, and I was in the group like everybody else, and sharing. And a lady in the group said this to me. Now, this is the power of not just your subconscious mind, but the minds of others, and how a little seed thought can germinate and turn into a larger seed, like a mustard seed, and grow into a tree. So we were having this conversation about same thing I'm sharing with all of you, that I would get up early. And so eventually I got to about 4 and I began to call it a daily date with myself. And so on this Zoom, presentation, I was sharing about what I do is my daily date with myself. I pray, I meditate, I read, I exercise, and I do these different things. And a lady said to me, she said, "Oh my gosh, I could never do that because when I wake up This is her talking to me and everybody else who was listening, right? She said, when I wake up, I get up and I just roll over and I go back to sleep. Do you ever do that? She's talking to me. I said, I used to do it a lot, but no, because when I roll over and try to go back to sleep, my mind keeps going and I just can't lay there. This is what happened the next morning. I got up the next morning. True story. I turned over. I went back to sleep. Galen, I sound like I hear you laughing in the background, but wait, that wasn't the end of the story. And when I turned over and I went back to sleep, this is the following day. And this is so powerful for me because it is an example of how one little seed thought. See, remember the subconscious mind does not know the difference between what's true or false. It doesn't know. It's just something planted. I slept for 2 more hours. So now my 4 o'clock now has turned into 6. 6 o'clock, I'm usually getting in my car because I have to drive 90 minutes to go to work. 90 minutes to go to work one way. So now I'm late. So of course I'm trying to, you can't catch up. No. So all the things that I would normally do, I did not do. The next morning, yes, sir. I turned over and I said, oh, just another nap. Yes, an hour. So what's my point? My point is this. The power of one seed thought. I don't care who you are. It's like taking a bath. Would you think about leaving home without taking a bath? It's a habit. And if you don't get anything else out of this podcast today, guard your thoughts like you guard your heart. Guard your thoughts like you guard your mind. Guard your thought like you guard your spirit. You must plant in it whatever it is you desire. Now, I'll wrap up now, Galen, I'll wrap up with this. This weekend, I hosted an event in Chicago called the Chicago Build with thousands of people there. And I was on a panel. Took a flight last night, got home about 1. Knew I had to be here this morning. And knew I have a daily date with myself. 1 o'clock. I went to sleep. I got up at my normal time. I was so tempted, yes, to go back to sleep. I said, no, put the sneakers on. And I wrote about it in my journal this morning. I said, no, my clarity work, my subconscious. Why? Because I knew that if I turned over to go, I would not be sitting here this morning on this podcast. I would still be trying to get dressed. So my point to all of us is this. What is it that you desire? And if you're not clear, don't worry about how you're going to achieve it. This is how you control your subconscious mind. Go back into the auto-suggestion chapter, the auto-suggestion principle of this book, and really begin to think and grow rich with peace of mind. It's not so much about the money. It is about what is it that you desire in the service of others, but what you must become. So anyway, Galen, those are my thoughts on your. What was your question again? Sorry.
It doesn't matter what the question is. We got the answer. We got the answer. Yeah, one of the things too that jumps out at me continuously.
Oh, wait, Galen. Wyman's trying to say something to you.
Wyman. So, yeah, we must learn to program our minds with the information, perspectives, plans that will produce the results. And that's actually, so Wyman is dead in the center of what I want to bring up, that your mind, you can either program your mind or you can be programmed.
Yes.
There's some programming going on. You can either program it yourself or you can allow others through neglect to program it for you. Abdication is a decision. You're just making a decision to let someone else make a decision. And so I want to go back. I want to tie this back to what you were saying in the beginning about advertising, because Napoleon Hill says that there are 7 major positive emotions and 7 major negative emotions. And every time you sense something on television or something in a print ad that's tugging at one of these emotions, you need to ask, who's doing the programming and what are they programming me to do? So I want to just share these with you. The 7 positive emotions. And as I share these, think about advertisements, think about politicians, think about people who try to leverage these emotions when they communicate with you. So the 7 major positive emotions are desire, faith, which sounds like church, love, sex, which sounds like advertisers, enthusiasm sounds like every salesperson, romance, hope, you know, politicians talk about hope. These are all positive emotions that other people try to leverage in order to influence your action or your behavior. They also leverage these 7 major negative emotions, and we need to avoid these. Those 7 major negative emotions are fear, jealousy, hatred, revenge. Anytime we say we've got to go, we got to go to this other country and take care of whatever, show them that you're not messing with America like this. Revenge, greed. How many times have stockbrokers have tried to get you to buy something from them, and they might be leveraging greed, superstition, and anger. So these are emotions. These are the major emotions that the author says that are the major emotions that impact our actions and our behavior. And going back to what Wyman said and what I said earlier, we can either program ourselves to do this proactively in the area that we want to go, or through neglect, others will try to program us by leveraging these exact same emotions to do what they want us to do. And usually they want us to buy their thing. They want us to vote for them. They want us to approve their budget. They want us to do things that will impact them financially, as opposed to us doing things that will impact us either financially or consistent with our desires. So Miss Hannah, I'd love to get your thoughts. Do you ever know? Have you noticed? How often do you notice when others are trying to program you or influence your action, and they might be using one of these emotions to try to get at you?
Absolutely. It's happening right now, Galen. Every word you're speaking, you're trying to influence me. Listen, Galen, this is no joke. I really wonder if we all think about thinking about
Mm,
what we're thinking. So yes, I do, but I'm also mindful of how I intentionally, on purpose, influence the minds of others,
mm,
good and not. That
yeah,
that that's where the work. Listen, that is where the work is. That is where the work is. And Galen, if I can, I share a little story about how
please
this
do. Please.
negative. Listen, so when you ask the question, I'm looking in the I'm looking in this camera, looking back at myself. But when I look back at myself, for those of you that's on the visual, and I want to thank you, Renette Gordon and Diane and Cherise and Cheryl and everybody, Jason, everybody listening. But if you're looking in the camera, you see on my right and you see on my left a picture, same guy, right? On my right and my left. And that guy is Frederick Douglass. So there was a period in my life many years ago, I'm going back to your question about being influenced. It's a period of my life many years ago, maybe about 5 years ago. My grandson went to Morgan and went to visit him and went to the museum, African American Museum, and I bought every book, everything they had on Frederick Douglass, every single book, and I began to read. I mean, over and over. I just stopped reading, a lot of other things, and at the same time that I'm reading his story, I am a contractor by profession. I'm going through, at the time, a situation with our county mayor who decided she was not going to allow Black folks like me to speak on an issue that we were having about the county, uh, approving what we call a disparity study, Galen. And the disparity study basically talked about Blacks being able to, minorities, but I'm not a minority, I'm just Black, about us being able to work for the county and have goals. And I was called to a meeting with a group of Blacks who talked about, somebody should do something. Now, they all had jobs, so they were not going to say a thing. I looked around the room and I realized, Galen, I was the only one sitting there who did not work for somebody that don't look like me. The only person who could say things that other people could not say. Now, I know we're running out of time, but I have to tell this story to talk about the power of subliminal seduction from what you read. So I'm reading the story that Frederick Douglass, the night before, I had read this story that Frederick Douglass talked about slavery and how we're treated. And all of a sudden, as I'm sitting there listening to these people, I'm realizing, oh my gosh, the same thing he talked about then, I'm going through the exact same thing right now as a Black person. Now, this is way before Floyd and all of this is way before this. So as these people are talking about, how we don't have the right to do this and we don't have the right to do this and how we're being castrated and all of this, then my mind went to, so those of you, Galen, this is a picture. Those of you that remember this picture of this slave, and we've all seen it with the webs on the back, and he's bent over, and all you can see is all of these webs like railroad tracks on his back. That picture comes to my mind. But the story that Frederick Douglass had told the night before that I read talked about how subliminally, subconsciously, slave owners control the slaves by muzzling their mouths, to shut you up. But also visually, this is what they did. They would take a slave that had done something, male slave, they would castrate him, they would hang him, they would burn him, and then they tie the dead body to the back of the wagon, and they drive his body around up and down the streets where slaves lived, subconsciously, subliminally, to let you know that if you did anything, this is what could happen to you. Now, Galen, do you mind if I tell the end of this story?
Please tell the end of the story.
Not thinking about the reading impacting me, not thinking about the impact of these people, Black folks, were sitting, they're all suited up, the guys, lawyers, and, they work for white law firms, okay? And these other Black business people, they work for white folks, okay? And we're all sitting around, and everybody's, a couple of commissioners were there too, but they couldn't talk. And everybody's sitting around, they're talking about what somebody should do this and somebody should do that. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, well, who's going to do something? This lady here says she is not going to allow us to speak on our behalf. This is no different than what was happening then. So all of a sudden I got this vision in my mind. This is the same thing happening to us now. You're going to castrate me. You're going to muzzle me. You're going to hang me. You're going to burn me. And then you're going to tie my dead body to the back of Yes. So I went to Facebook, and you can search this if you want, if you care that much to search. So so while they were sitting there talking, I pulled up my Facebook page and I started typing. Yeah, I started typing. And I didn't call her name, but she knew because she was following me on Facebook. So I started typing. I said, I am not going to be muzzled. I said, I said, you can castrate me. You can hang me. You can burn me to the stake. And then you could tie my dead body to the back of a red pickup truck. And you can drive me up and down. I live in West Palm Beach. I said, you could drive my dead body up and down the city of West Palm Beach, but you are not going to muzzle me. You're not going to stop me from saying what. So I hit send on the email. I mean, I hit send post on the Facebook post. And so I didn't tell anybody was sitting there what I did. I went home, and my husband could tell when I came in. I was like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" I said nothing. So I got showered and I got into bed, and I couldn't rest. Now, subconscious mind. This principle, we're talking about the subconscious mind. Everybody, what are you reading? What are you listening to? So, Gayla, I couldn't rest. I'm tossing and turning, and about 30 minutes, I got up. I wasn't done. I got, yes, Jason, yes, Wyman. I got up and I put on my red NABWIC, National Association of Black Women in Construction shirt. I got up out of bed, 10 o'clock. My husband said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'll be right back." I got my selfie stick, I got my cell phone, and then I went down to the Palm Beach County. Yes, I did. I went down to the county commission chambers. It's night. They're all gone home. And I stood in front of the building where you could see in the background, right? And I turned on my selfie stick. And I said exactly what I said in that post. I said live. Yes, I did. I said live. I said live. Next morning, that was a commission meeting. Next morning, yep, she let us speak. So the Palm Beach Post was after me, and everybody. I'm free. Now, this is the power of the subconscious mind. And my daughter said to me, of course, after all of this happened, she said, "Mommy, I think you're reading too much of Frederick Douglass." And all of these black, of course, she's black, and all of these black history people. Now, this is a millennial talking. For those of you that may be a little older, they don't remember our history. Yes, she knows our history, but she don't know it like that. And so I just said all of that, Galen, and I know the time is well invested. But I want each of you who are listening, and if you came to hear Miss Roberts, she's not here today. I guess you figured that out. But anyway, we're here. This is a master class. But this is the point I want to make. Listen to what you're seeing. I said that. Listen with your heart to what you're seeing and what you're allowing into your eyes, what you're allowing into your ears, what you're allowing, like Galen talked about, the 7 emotions, negative or positive, to what you're feeling. Become conscious of your own subconscious, because it is working day and night for good and for evil. But remember, it does not know good or evil. It only knows what you feed it and what you allow other people to feed it. And I'm getting a little bit too emotional here right now, because this is such a powerful reason why you must have an affirmation statement. You must recite something, if it's a prayer or if it's a poem, or listen to something positive every single morning when you get up. This is why I cannot watch the news before I go to bed. My husband does. I can't, because I have nightmares, because my mind has been so programmed to the positive, but it does not know. So whatever you feed it and you let it in, I tell people, somebody's going to tell you what's happening, the storm or the whatever. Somebody's going to tell you. So anyway, Galen, those are my.
What was your question? I mean, again, I keep going back to this idea of either program or be programmed.
Yes.
And if you just abdicate if you don't take this seriously and you just abdicate the responsibility of programming to someone else, they're going to program you. You might not want, chances are you wouldn't want what they're programming you to do. There's another book that I want to share with everyone that, I just became fascinated with. The book is called Wanting, The Power of Mimetic Desire in Everyday Life. It's by Luke Burgess. And basically what Luke Burgess is saying in his book is that humans are the most, he says, mimetic, meaning that we imitate what we see around us. We want what we think other people want. We want what we see other people doing. So the subconscious mind is being programmed by the people that we're around and the images that we see. So if you're not conscious about, as Anne was saying, if you're not conscious about what is it that you want, what is it that you want, what are the what's the information, what's what are the messages being sent to you? If you're not conscious of that, you're going to be programmed by the people around you. And that's why you have to take this thing seriously. You have to be intentional about what am I trying to accomplish, as Anne likes to say, what's my desire? And then how can I build an ecosystem that will reinforce and make that desire possible? Uh, I told a story a few months back where I'm here in my home office. I do a lot of work here. I do a lot of creating here. This is the same home office I had when I was working in corporate America. And when I first moved into my home, I designed this office with things that reinforce the corporate vision that I had. So I had on this wall, I had all of my plaques, all of my trophies, and everything for the company that I worked for, and that was what was behind here as well. But I kept struggling with, although I was no longer in corporate America and I was trying to become an entrepreneur and trying to build a business, I kept feeling this tug between, do I want to be an entrepreneur? Do I want to get back into corporate America? And I couldn't understand why this tug of war kept happening. And you even mentioned it a couple of times, Galen, I don't sense the conviction that you know who you're trying to be. And it wasn't until I looked around my office and everything that was coming at me subconsciously was reinforcing my history. It was reinforcing my past. So although, right here, I'm working on my computer, trying to create my future, the subconscious messages around me was reinforcing my past. And if you get pulled between your future and your past, you stay exactly where you are. You don't go anywhere. So really start thinking about what are the subconscious messages that are coming at you? What are the songs that you're listening to just in the background, right? It's not even turned up loud enough for you to sing along. But what are those songs? What are those messages playing on the television? You're not really paying attention to the television. What's the message coming from the news? You might not be listening to the news, but what are those messages? Because that is influencing your subconscious. And as Ms. Ann has said several times, the subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's true and what's not. It doesn't know the difference between what you want and what you don't want. All it knows is this is the information that I'm receiving, and I'm going to act on that information. So one of the things I want us to talk about, or Miss Ann, I'd love for you to reinforce, is this event, this meeting that you've created, so that you can be intentional about being around people who are like-minded, people who are trying to accomplish their goals, people who will reinforce you trying to accomplish your goals. And you've created this annual event so that we can do this very thing that we've talked about, build an ecosystem that will be supportive around how you're trying to program yourself. To get you talk a little bit about the annual meeting and how people can get involved with that for this coming year.
Absolutely, absolutely, Galen. So I would like to have each of you, if you have not already registered, please register quickly. Register to what? We host an annual meeting for your life. This is not a conference. Let's talk about what is not. It's not a conference. So there's no keynote speaker. There's no conference bag, no breakout sessions. No, this is about you and your life and your family. So once a year in January, usually the first or second week in January, we come together with like minds and like spirited individuals to be held accountable for whatever it is that we said we wanted to do the previous year. We come together to be held accountable for whatever we are desiring to do the upcoming year and years ahead. And by doing that, we ask each of you, which we give you a process, we ask you to bring your life in writing, 10 areas of your life: your spiritual, your family, your financial, your education, your health, your personal personal development. These are your goals: your personal development, your business or your career, your recreation, your creativity, and your civic area of your life. Remember, your business is only one of those areas. What about the other nine? Then we ask you to consider writing goals in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. And for myself, it's been over 40 years, right? And please consider bringing your children, your spouse, your family, your friends. Why? Because subliminally, and subconsciously, how can you hit a goal you cannot see? How can you hit a goal you have not written? How can you hit a goal that does not have a deadline on it? And so this is why for over 20 years we have been having this event. And now many of the children that started out with us, they now have children. They've grown up in this principle, this philosophy. Of course, we still read the book Think and Grow Rich, but that is the foundation for what we do. So you can go to the internationalmasterminders.com website and you can register. And I would encourage you register quickly, because we do have an early bird registration going on and the price will almost double. So please do not delay, because some of you will be calling me, emailing me, texting me, oh, I forgot, do the deadline. Yes, yes, deadline. So Tia, if you can put that JPEG up so everybody can be aware what the deadline is on that event. And please make sure you subscribe. Uh, right now, the impact, the early bird is at only $99. All right. Invest in yourself and in your family. All right, Galen, that's it for the details of that annual meeting for our lives.
Yeah, I would encourage everyone, if you have not been to the annual meeting, you absolutely need to go. I saw a video of Warren Buffett, and he was talking about. They asked him, what are some of the best investments that he would recommend, and he said, there's a number of different stocks. There's a lot of different instruments that you can look into, but the best investment that you can make is an investment in yourself. And that's what this is. This is about becoming intentional about what you say you're trying to create. Because if you just allow things to come, if you just allow life to happen, if you just allow life to unfold however it unfolds, you will always be disappointed in what you receive and what you accomplish. You have to be intentional. And so, Miss Anna, I would love for you to share kind of any thoughts that you have from this conversation, and then how people can get a hold of you, and then I'll say.
Yes. I just had a thought, Galen. We're talking about subliminal and subconscious mind. So I just decided again that I want to subliminally induce all of you who are listening. First of all, my name is Amy Neal. I am the Master Wealth Builder, helping you to build a stronger, better life and business. And I want to keep saying that because I want you to believe it, because it's true. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, I would encourage you to niche to be rich. And so at the very end of this podcast, we're going to play one of my favorite videos that give you a little visual. Yes, we're talking about the subconscious mind and the impact of it and emotions. And so I realize that I am impacted every time I see this video, to encourage all of you to join me for our niche to be rich one day on the island. That's it for me, Galen. You can reach me at annmcneil.com.
Well, fantastic. One of the things that, first of all, my name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist. I help leaders bake success into work and life. And there are so many different ways you can get a hold of me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on you could probably put up a light in the sky and I'll fly in like Batman or Superman. But one of the more fun ways to get for us to connect is by checking out my podcast, Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership. We talk to leaders in all industries, all over the world. We talk about the whiskeys they drink, the jazz music they listen to, and what they believe it really takes to be an effective leader. I double dog dare you to try it just once. We're on every podcast platform, and it is just it's just really, really chock full of great wisdom from people who have actually done this leadership thing. And one of the things that I want to share with you as we get ready to close is, as I mentioned earlier, I really spent some time thinking about what was communicating to me subconsciously in my office, and why couldn't I break through? Why couldn't I have the kind of success, or at least, or even a portion of the success that I was planning for? And one of the things that I did immediately after I recognized that my surrounding was constantly pulling me back into my past is I spent an afternoon and I took down all of my plaques. I took down all of my corporate trappings. I took down all of the corporate images that were quite honestly right behind my computer screen. And I repopulated the walls with images that were consistent with where I was trying to go. And I want to read to you the saying, the poster that I've got sitting right behind the monitor that I'm speaking to you from, because this is what I'm trying to program myself for relative to the future. And you guys have heard this before, but this is the sign, this is the image, this is the poster that I've got right behind my monitor. It says, "Watch your thoughts, for they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, for they become your character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. What we think, we become." And that is what I'm trying to program myself to remember. And I would encourage you guys to do that exact same thing for yourself. You don't have to put up the same images that I've put up, but just really take a look around. What are the images that you have in your surrounding, and what are they programming you to think, to feel, to do? Is that consistent with what you want to think, feel, or do? Or is it time to reprogram your mind to be more in line with your desire? If you decide it's time for a change, I would definitely encourage you to check us out every Saturday morning, Eastern Standard Time, as we go through a principle of Think and Grow Rich. Otherwise, reach out to me, and I or Ann would be overjoyed to help you along this journey. Until next time, Think and Grow Rich. Take care.
My why really is the fact that you really can think and grow rich with a spirit of excellence, in the spirit of service to God. I came from absolutely nothing. So there's no excuse about why I cannot help literally millions of people, but I have to start with one, and that one is myself.
Such a gift. The way that you have curated this space for people to be safe, to be seen, to be heard, to be validated, to be encouraged, to be lifted up in a way that allows them to see beyond what they may have ever even dreamt to be possible, is special. It's a blessing, it's a gift, and it's transformative.
say thank you for opening my eyes to what it is I need to do, how to do what I need to do, and sharing your life experiences so that I don't make the mistakes.
You need to surround yourself with individuals that see something in you that you can't see. Because once they see that, then they will keep bugging you because they know better is in there. And that's what she has done for me. She saw my better when I couldn't even see it.